Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, hello everyone. I am Dr. Rachel Peterson, and we are here for yet another Cosmic Career Chat brought to you by the Cosmic Leap Foundation. Today I have an amazing guest with me. This is José Castellón. José currently serves as the technical authority for the F-22 Communications, Navigation, and Identification Program, as well as the functional manager for the Small Form Factors and Communications Engineering and Science Department with Northrop Grumman. José is a seasoned aerospace engineer with almost 43 years of experience in both space and unmanned aircraft systems. Throughout his journey, he's been a leader, a subject matter expert in systems engineering. He's led large programs and functional teams through research and development, and he's also been responsible for the personal and professional growth and development of his teams. José is of Puerto Rican and Salvadorian descent. He was born and raised in California, where he currently lives with his wife. He has 2 sons, a stepdaughter, and 2 adorable dogs. José, thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you, Rachel, for inviting me. I'm looking forward and excited to be here with all of you today. So thank you. Appreciate the time.
I want to ask you a question. For some students, they hear engineering and they don't know about all these different types of engineering, and one that you brought up is systems engineering. So can you explain to us what is systems engineering?
So if you think of it like a big Lego blocks, right? The Lego blocks are typically, as a chief engineer, I own the end Lego blocks, right? The system engineer is responsible for the glue that all those pieces come together. So the end product is whatever the system is. The system engineer has to, as the start, helps try to decompose it in a way that engineers can actually do detailed work and design to actually come up and build their parts. And then at the end, making sure it comes back together and works as a whole system the way it's supposed to.
That makes sense. I love that the Lego pieces, the glue together, putting it all together. That's fantastic. You've developed this timeline of your story, and I think there's some really cool visuals that kind of cater to that. So can you tell us a little bit about this timeline that you have of your journey and give us a little overview of what each of these little points are?
I started as an intern, so I was going to school, get my undergrad degree at Cal State Northridge. But you can see there I am in 1982 as a 19-year-old intern, little tan line, a lot less gray, darker hair, I'll say it that way, and probably about 10 pounds lighter at the time. Going through my journey there and starting there for several years, learning really how a satellite came together, which was a good basis for system engineering. And so also went off and took a year to get my master's at Stanford, and then moving to spacecraft system engineering. So again, there it was an opportunity to work a wide range of studies where different types of satellites, different types of missions, different types of payloads, understand how we're supposed to understand. So my basic focus was putting, I had a platform. Think of it like a school bus, putting payload on the bus, putting it on a rocket, getting it to the right orbit, and making sure it talked to the ground and being able to send command and telemetry back. Got my first break in a program called Geolite to actually take something from paper to orbit, which was really cool. I actually got to send a command when we actually were launching this thing once. Moved in as a functional manager. So basically I was responsible then for a whole wide range of folks, about 160 folks responsible that I would deploy out to programs. Then people reached out to me and started working in spacecraft technologies. As we talked about maturing these less mature, technologies, whether it was in propulsion, aircraft, power, technologies that we wanted to mature them so they could be used on programs for a variety of reasons, to make the satellite lighter, more efficient. Then works in major captures and other product area work. And then around 2016, kind of moving a little fast forward there to the Global Hawk program, which is again a high altitude, long duration. This flies at 60,000 feet, 30 hours, doing intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance type missions. That was really cool making that change, but I could leverage a lot of my system engineering work and abilities into that type of area. And then became another, again, functional homework manager for about a 400-person organization, and then moved on into helping really people develop their skill sets going forward. And now I am on the F-22 program.
Yeah, constant learning is what I am hearing.
Yeah.
The importance of continuous learning throughout your lifetime. It just doesn't end at high school.
Yeah, and all the people along the way that help you along the way is really key. You learn from them, you share with them. That's where the learning really comes. Exchanging ideas is really a big deal, and that's what's helped me get to where I am today.
And that's a great segue actually into the people that have helped support you across your life. We have the folks who are a part of our technical journey, but then we also have some other folks who may be outside of that, but are big parts of our life. So I know you shared some photos here about who your support systems are. Can you tell us a little bit about your support systems?
Yeah, this is my family, my immediate family, and you can see my beautiful wife there on the left-hand side. There we are in sunglasses, ready to go to a summer outdoor concert here in San Diego, called the Radio Shell. So she's been basically my rock for me, and is my support system ever since we've been together for over a decade now. So I love her to death, and she's just a wonderful person. On the right-hand side, you see my two boys. We're getting LA Dodger fans to the end. They're 29 and 25. And then over to the right, my stepdaughter there with my wife also. You can see, so I have a lovely set of kids. And then the middle pictures of my wife and I from around the world: Panama Canal, Rose Bowl, the Kentucky Derby, and Disneyland. And then you can see our two little fur babies there on the bottom there, who are basically, I think they kind of run my life, and that's basically like to use me as I think for walks and as a pet dispenser for treats, as I always like to say.
Yes, a pest dispenser for trees. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So we know that with engineering, there are many journeys along the way, some things that we do where we're going to fail quite often. And what we like to say is we fail forward, right? We learn from our mistakes, we learn and do iterations. And so we often think that, engineers and scientists are just these really smart, wicked, successful people all the time, right? But we don't always see the challenges and how they overcame those. So we want to hear a little bit about some successes, but also some challenges that you may have experienced throughout your lifetime.
Probably one of my best was actually, it was the picture you have there. This is a satellite program I was on. We had built the system together, moved forward, and we discovered a major flaw in the design after it was built. Basically, it was on a rocket that would spin. So I'm gonna use my water bottle for, so basically it would spin to basically gyroscopic shifts to hold it in place until it launches, stop, and the satellite would pop off. That was supposed to be the case. We discovered it's like a top, right? This spins around or it's controlled around an intermediate move of inertia. So if you know your physics, what happens is it's like, unbalanced equilibrium. It's like a top. So if you put friction on the top will start spinning. And we discovered with the propellant, you can hear my water bottle here, would slosh around in essence. It would cause friction inside and could lead that. We discovered after the fact. So we told our customer we're going to basically have to delay the program, and they didn't like that answer. So we had to so that was where the failure came. I realized we had this problem, but they didn't want to delay the program. So put a team together, reached out to folks from all over the country. Believe it or not, found a gentleman who did scale model drop tests. Believe it or not, did some tests to understand, characterize what we had. Once we figured out, we were able to come up with a solution that allowed us to basically change really how much we filled the propellant so it wouldn't move around so much, and then be able to launch without having to delay the program anymore. So with no real physical change other than just how hot we basically kept warm we kept the propellant, so it would fill as much as possible so it wouldn't move, and it worked. But when this thing actually worked, it was like the longest 7 minutes of my career. So we went from a failure of, basically, oops, we discovered and delayed the program, to figuring out overcoming the challenge and successfully launching the satellite, and was deployed.
That's great. And I'm sure that kind of set a precedent for what people might do in the next steps.
Yep. We had to relearn a lot of things about how it worked. I think we had really forgotten how to deal with spin stabilized, systems, and we had to rediscover that.
Well, I know one thing that you really emphasize in the roles that you've had of project management and managing teams is communication. And so when we handle challenges or when we overcome things or talk through different parts of a project, communication is really important. So can you tell us a little bit about why communication might be important in an engineering setting?
Well, engineering is always a big thing. So and I even when I should teach my sons at school, right? It was like, we talked about math and science, but the big thing is, in order to basically think of communication so important, is that you're sharing ideas. right? We're trying to share ideas and together come up with the best solution. So I may have an idea, I may have the best solution, but if I'm not able to articulate that thought to my idea to the rest of the team, it doesn't help anybody. And vice versa, it's a two-way street. Communication involving basically information flowing from myself to another person or more, and then also information coming back to me. And that exchange of information and via just talking or sharing written information, whatever it turns out to be, is really important, because what happens is it provides people to look at things differently, because we all come with different perspectives. We all have unique backgrounds, unique skill sets, experiences, and those different perspectives allow us to basically have a wider range of solutions, sets to deal with a particular problem, right? If we all have the same the perspective and we don't communicate and just rely on, Rachel to do everything, we just sit there. Rachel's probably the smartest person in the room, but again, it says I may know something that she may not know that could help even enhance the problem. So I think communicating is always important by making sure that you're having that dialogue and being able to not just transmit, but also to listen and respect that other side of it, and then hopefully come together with the best solution possible for the problem you have at hand.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. A way that I think that's really important for students to hear, especially because they do quite a bit of group work when they're, in elementary school and middle school and even high school. And so making sure that we practice communication and practice hearing from one another and taking each other's perspectives is really important. I love that. So our students are involved in a competition every year where they have to build and design a habitat on the moon or on Mars. And we know that satellites, something you're very familiar with, might have a role. But can you help us make this connection for students in how satellites might relate to our journey to the moon or our journey to Mars?
Well, in all cases, we're trying to, these are areas that we don't visit on a regular basis and don't have a lot of knowledge. Satellites help us collect a lot of data information about the environment, the habitat, the topography, the geology of all these places. So if we're looking at trying to establish habitats on the moon or eventually trying to get to Mars, these are always going to be key things. So satellites help us collect a lot of information to learn about what the composition of each place is going to be, things we have to look at in the environments. We have to look at what's available for us when we get there. And really, it's very helpful for us to have that type of information to get there. We actually, believe it or not, built a satellite in late 2000s where my company was looking to determine there was water on the moon. Why is that important? Because water on the moon could give you a basis for having to create rocket fuel to get to Mars. You can use the moon as a way station instead of having to carry all that fuel from Earth to the moon. You can then leverage that moon. So we actually, believe it or not, took a satellite that was kind of a secondary payload for another NASA program. We actually kept the top primary main stage, launched it into the moon as it hit into a particular crater we thought would have water. So, and then we had a satellite following it. So as it hit, it turns out there was a water, the plume would come up, and then we were collecting data as the satellite crashed in and transmitting it back to Earth. So that's a case where there were cases where there was, we found ice, right? And part of that mission determines an opportunity to help us leverage that as we go forward. So that's why, again, that's the importance of why satellites do make a major role in helping us get to these kind of remote, very far away planets, or actually celestial objects. I'll say it that way.
Oh, I love that. That's going to be so interesting for them, because I know with our connection for the moon, we have some students that have to try to figure out where on the moon would they even put a habitat. And so mentioning that idea of finding ice, I think that's something our students may be familiar with. And so really, really interesting that you're a part, or that you know of that kind of experience to figure that stuff out. So What advice do you have for young students?
I would say this, the world's always changing. The world needs scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, artists. So I think there's always ample opportunity to find what you're excited and passionate about, right? That I think is going to be key. So just don't assume that someone, made you become this doesn't mean you have to become this, but particularly when you think about it in the world of STEM, there's so much ample opportunity to basically take all the gifts that each of you as students have and be able to apply them in ways that help others. Remember, part of engineering is taking those, taking scientific principles and applying them to help people, right? That's to help solve problems. So if you want to do engineering, or if you want to do basic fundamental theory work, if you're a scientist, that's great too. discovering new things and then figure out how they can be adapted to, our world. I think there's just so much out there, and students, but I think it falls into what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? Hopefully you can find the right environment that you can achieve that, where all your creativity, your knowledge can be shared in a way that you're excited about doing. You're excited about going to work every day, and then being able to help and do such tremendous things that helps, your communities, our country, the world, if you want to get that far. So that's my advice to young students today.
All right, Jose. Well, it's been amazing chatting with you. We appreciate all of the advice, learning about your stories, and the great things that you brought to the table. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. I so enjoyed it. Again, I hope I'll be able to help somebody out there. But again, I've had such a long journey, so it's time to really always remember to pass that on to the next generation. But again, I really appreciate all you do, the Cosmic Leap do, you and Natasha. So thank you for such a tremendous opportunity to be here with you today.
All right. Well, thank you again. And we will see you all later for another Cosmic Career Chat.